Members of the Rules Committee, Madam Chair, welcome. We are going to convene the Senate Rules Committee. It is Wednesday, May 13th. It is approximately 1:40 p.m. I think we have a full agenda, and we have 3 individuals that are before us today for confirmation that are required to appear. Madam Secretary, let's establish a quorum, so why don't we call the roll? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Cannella.
Here.
Cannella here. Leyva. Here. Leyva here. Mitchell. Here. Mitchell here. Fuller. Here. Fuller here. DeLeon.
Here.
DeLeon here.
Okay, we've established a quorum. Let's go to file item number 1, which are the bill referrals, the reference of bills to committee. Can I get we have a motion made by Ms. Mitchell. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Cannella.
Aye.
Cannella aye. Leyva. Leyva aye. Mitchell. Mitchell aye. Fuller. Fuller aye. DeLeon.
Aye.
DeLeon aye.
Okay, bill referrals are made on a 5-0 vote. Let's go to file item number 2. We're going to go to 2A. Required to appear before us the position of Executive Director for California Housing Finance Agency, and that is Tia Boatman Patterson. Welcome. Come on up. And Ms. Boatman Patterson, if there's anyone in the audience that you would like to introduce, please do so.
Thank you, Senator. I do have with me today my husband, Amari Patterson.
Welcome.
My sister, Tiffany Alvidrez, and my most important person, my mother, Sandra Stone.
Welcome. Welcome.
And then in the back row, well, behind my sister, that's my son who came home unexpectedly from college because I thought it wasn't over until
Where's
Friday.
that?
Zachary.
Oh, okay,
And then
okay,
that's his niece, my granddaughter, Sadea, that's sitting on his lap.
Okay.
She got promised a bicycle if she showed up.
Well, contingent on your confirmation, maybe we should hold you to that, you know. So welcome, Ms. Bowman. Why don't you make a brief statement, and then what we'll do is we'll open up the questions or commentaries to the members.
Thank you, Senator DeLeon and members of the Rules Committee. I am both honored and humbled to be before you this afternoon. I want to thank my family, my extended family, and professional colleagues who are here in support of my confirmation. However, given this past Sunday, it was Mother's Day, I want to specifically thank my mother. My mother was a single mother that raised 2 girls in the Central Valley, whose strength and belief in possibilities made my sister and I the women we are today. With perseverance, belief in possibilities, and the assistance of public housing and changes in federal law that allowed single women to finance a home, I witnessed my mother work hard to move a family from homelessness to homeownership. Thus, I can personally attest to the impact of safe, sanitary, and decent affordable housing and stabilizing communities, and as a tool to alleviating poverty. Both my sister and I are beneficiaries of affordable housing and public education, which are cornerstones to eradicating and breaking the cycles of generational poverty. I bring to this position dedication and passion. As a public servant, 2 decades of postgraduate school in California public policy, and well over a decade specifically in housing and community development, and more recently, affordable housing finance. My goals to lead this organization are 3. Reinvigorating CalHFA's lending activities and enhancing efficient program delivery of affordable housing finance, continuing to strengthen the relations and the formal collaboration I have with my sister agency, the Department of Housing and Community Development, to align our lending activities with state housing policy goals, and to foster and build our lending reputation as the state's affordable housing bank with both our governmental and private sector partners. I want to do this to leverage private capital with governmental resources so that more Californians have a place to call home. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Ms. Boatman Patterson, what we're going to do is we're going to open up to questions and commentaries from the members. We'll start with Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I was struck, well, 2 things. I was struck by LA Times article yesterday or the day before that talked about the rental market in California and quoted rental amounts for San Francisco for a 2-bedroom apartment close to $4,000 a month. In Southern California, closer to my neck of the woods, Santa Monica, other areas, just staggering dollar amounts. And so I thought it was, fortuitous that we'd have the opportunity to have this conversation today. What are some of the main challenges you see facing affordable multifamily housing in California? And how do the programs you run help families in that area? Because one of the points the article made is that we're not building enough multifamily housing units to keep up with demand. So with the California's population growth, we need 200,000 units a year. And the last year we've built short of 100,000. So given that capacity issue, given the unaffordability of the rental stock, what does your department do to help families in those areas?
We have both a single-family home ownership program and a multifamily
So the
program.
multifamily
So on the multifamily side, we have low-cost financing, and we partner with developers so that we can build affordable rental homes. One of the main challenges I see right now is a dedicated revenue stream that is able to bring in those public dollars to match with those private dollars and to leverage those funding.
Which we lost as a result of the elimination of redevelopment.
Right. That was about $1 billion a year that the state used and local governments used to bring to the table to serve as a match to bring in and leverage some of those private dollars. We have had booms and busts of housing bond funds, one-time allocations, but not what developers need most, which is a consistent dedicated stream of funding that could be dedicated so that they know that the certainty is there so that they can come up and bring in their private dollars. And so that was one of the biggest challenges that we have. But what I do see is more collaboration on the state side when it comes to housing programs. The Treasurer's Office, the Housing and Community Development Department, as well as our agency, are all working together collaboratively where we're aligning those state resources so that we can leverage those private dollars. You saw with the Veterans Housing Bond that was passed recently, that was a collaboration of multiple agencies, HCD, CalHFA, and CalVets. We came together to create that program, and you'll see things like that where we're coming together, where we're marrying our public resources with those precious public resources with private dollars so that we can build more affordable housing.
And just lastly, I just have one more, really more of a comment, Mr. Pro Tem. We often talk about in the confirmation setting challenges that we and our district offices have in helping constituents kind of navigate. And I have to tip my hat to you personally, as well as your department. We've had any number of opportunities to reach out to ask for help. And when constituents reach out to us around a housing crisis, by the time you call your state senator, your back's against the wall. You have tried everything you can do on your own. So by the time they get to my staff in the district office, they're frantic. And so I want to thank you. I had one constituent who had a gift for repeat dialing. And then had a gift for showing up at my district events, Coffee with the Senator, which called me into action in terms of reaching out to get her some very concrete answers, some of which she didn't want to hear. But I want to thank you personally for taking the time, as well as your agency, for assisting our district offices in trying to help constituents understand the programs are available, and also explain to them, which is a very tough, bitter pill to swallow, when these programs that they're hearing advertised really may not meet their specific, unique need. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much, Senator Mitchell. Now, let's see. Senator Leyva.
Good afternoon, Ms. Boatman.
Good afternoon, Senator.
I very much enjoyed meeting with you. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for being here, and you have such a great enthusiasm and passion and love for this job. You have both the personal experience and the professional experience. I think you'll do terrific, and I think you're going to help a lot of people in the state of California. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much, Ms. Leyva. Mr. Cannella. Okay, how about our Madam Vice Chair? Not with us, Madam Vice Chair? I can't see, unless she's invisible right now, I can't see her. Okay, I don't think we have any other questions or commentaries from the members. I will say this, Ms. Boatman, Patterson, we've known each other for quite a while, and we had a lovely meeting a few months ago when you came hand in hand, to introduce yourself and your role, and I thought it was a wonderful meeting. And The fact that, you brought your family, your mother, and you told me your life story with regards to a single mother and what having access to housing means to families, particularly families of color, whether it's in really hard, economically depressed areas like the Central Valley that disproportionately impacts, communities at the lower economic strata more so than others, and other urban areas like in Los Angeles, and San Francisco, Oakland, and elsewhere, rural as well as suburban, as well as urban areas. The goal of getting folks at a low economic strata access to capital credit because of low FICO scores, and be able to have a safe environment, a roof over their head and their children's heads. So obviously, what the role that you play is a very important role. So I'm very happy to be supportive of your nomination. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up right now, and for those who are in support of this nomination, please come on up. For those who are in support of the nomination, and I would ask for brevity. For those in support of the nomination, please come on up. Please come on up. Yeah. And brevity, too.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm Malachi Sekou Amen, President and CEO of the California Urban Partnership. And in the context of what we do to build economic security for low-income communities and communities of color, and also in the context of someone who has known Ms. Boatman-Patterson, it is our utmost pleasure to be here in strong support of her confirmation to Executive Director of the California Housing Finance Agency. We know that she has the management acumen, the experience, and the passion to have more to support economic inclusion in California in the housing space, and so we're proud to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gunning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Michael Gunning with the Personal Insurance Federation. Here in two capacities, also representing the insurance industry, but also as a board member of the Housing Financing Agency. And I think maybe the senior member, both literally and figuratively. So I've been there through the housing crisis, and no one person can do it alone. And thanks to staff, the series of staff who've weathered through there, we've turned the corner. And I think with Tia as the head there, she mentioned it, but clearly she's the one with the enthusiasm, the vision. She's had the experience here in the building, and she clearly has the passion and experience to lead the agency going forward. So certainly encourage her confirmation, and thanks for your support.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kathy Cresswell, and I'm have been with the State Department of Housing and Community Development for approximately 25 years. I now am doing statewide work on housing and community development activities, and I am here to strongly encourage the appointment of Tia. I've had the privilege of working with Tia in various capacities for over a decade. She has just a record of accomplishment. She brings the right temperament to work both with the private sector as well as with the public sector. She is creative. She has brought forward such innovation at a time when our housing landscape is shifting so dramatically. We need her creativity and her passion for this work, and I wholeheartedly and am privileged to recommend your endorsement.
Thank you much. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon, Pro Tem De Leon and Senators. Pamela Gibbs, representing myself today. I'm here as a professional and personal reference of Ms. Tia Boatman-Patterson. I have had over 20 years of experience knowing the nominee today. And I have to say, one thing that comes to mind is grace under pressure. When we first joined the legislature, we were witness to a monumental shift in leadership. And the way she handled that was remarkable. She's brilliant. She has great tenacity. And I know that that's something she's relied on to get to this point. And I know she can rely on that experience to get her through the career that she's embarking upon right now. And given the challenges that Senator Mitchell mentioned about the housing crisis, I think she's the perfect candidate for this job. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to recommend my support for her nomination.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Rob Weiner with California Coalition for Rural Housing. My kids and Tia's kids went to Planet Gymnastics together, but more importantly than that, she's an absolutely inspired choice for this position. She's the perfect person for the perfect job, and we urge her aye vote.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon, Tiffany Whiten on behalf of Bridge Housing and the Infill Builders Federation. Ms. Boatman, you have been a tireless advocate for affordable housing, and we thank you and we encourage your support.
Next witness. Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Michael Bolden on behalf of the Service Employees International Union. Out of respect for the committee, based on the chair's request for brevity, I will just like to echo the comments previously made by all the speakers before me, and respectfully ask for an aye vote for the confirmation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're the only ones who listened to me so far today. Thank you very much. Next witness in support. Seeing none, those in opposition. Also seeing no opposition, those who may be neutral. Seeing that, okay, do we have a motion? We have a motion that's been made by Senator Mitchell. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Canella? Aye. Canella, aye. Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. Mitchell? Aye. Mitchell, aye. Fuller? Aye. Fuller, aye. DeLeon?
Aye.
DeLeon, aye.
Ms. Boatman, your nomination passes the Rules Committee on a 5-0 vote. I want to congratulate you, especially your mother and your son and your grandchild that's here with us today, and your confirmation will go to the full Senate floor vote very soon. Congratulations. Okay, we're going to continue our agenda, colleagues. We're going to go to, we're still on file item number 2. We're going to go to B, which is the Director of the Department of Human Resources, that is HR for the state of California. That is Mr. Richard Gillihan. Mr. Richard Gillihan, welcome. And we'll give it about a minute so the room will settle down. Okay, Mr. Gillihan, if there's anyone you'd like to introduce, please do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You want to just make sure if that mic is on? Yeah.
Testing.
Okay, I don't think that microphone is working. Let's see if we switch to another microphone. Perhaps that one's working. Is that mic? Want to make sure. Is that mic live? Go ahead, try it again.
Check, check, check.
If not, let's try the other one right there.
Good afternoon.
Perfect. There we go. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, yes, I would like to introduce in the back my wife, Lori Gillihan, a career public servant as well, and state executive in her own right, and some members of our leadership team at CalHR. Pam Manueller, our Deputy Director of Labor. She's in the back, straight from the bargaining table to here.
Well,
and Katie Hagan, our Deputy Director of Operations, as well as Julie Taylor, who runs the executive office and keeps me going in the right direction, which is no small feat. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gillihan. Why don't you give us a brief statement, and then we'll open up the Rules Committee to questions and/or commentaries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, and members. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and for your consideration of my appointment as Director of CalHR. I was honored when Governor Brown appointed me to this position, where I have the privilege of serving alongside the dedicated and hardworking staff at CalHR. As you know, CalHR serves as the employer of state employees on behalf of the governor, and I think about our employees every day and the challenges they face, and I'm proud of the work they do serving and protecting the public. It's important and meaningful work. And we have a responsibility to be good stewards to our employees and manage those relationships. That's what our labor relations function is all about. And beyond our core labor role, CalHR also provides leadership and support in a vast array of human resources related functions, including EEO and civil rights, healthcare benefits, supplemental retirement savings plans, the state's classification and compensation plan, examination and selection services, statewide training, workforce planning, recruitment, and legal services. And we do all that with a staff of about 300 people. We're a relatively small, and I'd like to think, efficient operation. So we face significant challenges and have much work to do to recruit, develop, and retain a skilled workforce, streamline and modernize our civil service system, and ultimately return the state to its rightful place as a premier employer. One that is open, accessible, and provides a level playing field to all current and future employees. From our strategic plan to our key role in the governor's civil service improvement efforts, that's exactly what we're working to accomplish. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I'm happy to take any questions the committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gillihan. We're going to open up to questions and commentaries from the members. Why don't we start with Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Senator De Leon. I really enjoyed meeting you and our conversation. And I will say again publicly what I said to you privately. You have a tough job, as all HR professionals do, I believe. And I think your challenge, as we discussed, is exacerbated by a number of factors outside of your control. We talked about the fact that in my parents' generation, getting a good government job and staying there for your entire career was the thing to do. But now you're competing against private sector. You're trying to convince the new millennials that public service is indeed honorable and that they should consider it even though there's low pay. And so I would be interested in hearing you talk a little bit about the work that you are engaging in, really helping to bring the state of California's HR world into the current kind of reality of how you continue to attract and keep highly qualified employees, given just kind of the culture shift in the work world.
Well, thank you for the question, and that's that you covered a lot of ground there, and it's which is illustrates the breadth of the problem we face. So, and our primary way we're approaching this is through the Civil Service Improvement Initiative that was first called for in the Jan 10 budget. And it's a broad umbrella that has some 90 discrete projects underneath it, under 9 different work streams that we're starting on now. And it begins at the front end on the hiring process. It's too complicated to get a state job. We have 3,500 plus classifications today. We're a large employer by any measure, almost 250,000 employees, but there's no reason to have 3,600 job classifications, and that makes it that much more difficult on the front end. And then this notion of competitive examination, you have to develop 3,600 examinations. It's very complicated. And then moving forward, we have decades of civil service rules and laws that make it very challenging for employees to pursue various career opportunities, to move into different career paths, to perhaps leave the state and go to the private sector and come back in the future, or just have people from the private sector come into the state mid-career and bring those experiences and perspectives to the state. So we have a lot of challenges to face. That's exactly what we're working on with our Civil Service Improvement Project. We have I mentioned earlier, I think in our meeting, Senator Mitchell, that we have a civil service system that was developed in the 50s and has decades of rules and regulations and statutes stacked on top of it. And we have a business environment that seems like it was developed in the 70s, and we're trying to recruit a generation of employees who grew up with smartphones and the internet and don't necessarily want to work in that environment. So those are all the things we're working on. We're working with some private sector partners under Secretary Batcher's leadership, including companies in Silicon Valley, and looking at innovative ways they're providing work opportunities and flexibility to this generation of employees to see how we can leverage that for the state.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the recent auditor's report and some of their findings, particularly with regard to pay equity as it relates to state employees?
So absolutely. So gender pay equity is a conversation, of course, is happening at the national level and at the state level. And we have a problem here, too, within the state of California civil service. Our problem is a little different, perhaps, than it is in other places. In the state and under civil service, we don't have different salary ranges for men and women in the same jobs. We have one salary range. And so the salary gap that we have is a byproduct of the composition of our workforce. And today we have a workforce that generally has a higher representation of women in lower paying job categories. Of course, women are at all levels and all job categories, but on a percentage basis. And then the opposite is true for men. And so, and then we have to tackle that problem against the backdrop of the Constitution that says that hiring and promotional decisions are based on merit, and you can't factor in protected characteristics. So how do we attack that problem? We attack it on the recruitment side. And we do that by making sure that we recruit to the right areas, and we can target recruit underrepresented groups, and so that we're recruiting the right folks so that we have broad candidate pools from which to select the best candidate. But it's going to take time for the workforce to turn over and that problem to correct itself. And we also need to look at promotional opportunities and staff development as well, because that's part of the equation.
Thank you.
Mr. Cannella.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I have no questions. We had a nice visit this morning, and Mr. Gillihan seems like the right person for the job. Very serious, intense individual. And that's a good quality to have when you're working with HR. Clearly, there are some struggles, and I'm impressed with this gentleman. He's willing to give up a good job to go into an appointed position that, you know, at some point may end, and it's like the president going back to be the mayor or something, right? So it'd be tough to go back, so I appreciate your commitment to this department and to the state. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Leyva.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Good afternoon, Mr. Gillihan. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Very good. I would echo the comments of Senator Mitchell regarding pay and gender equity. We did talk about that when we met, and I think you're right that some turnover will be needed, but I also think that you and your position have a responsibility to make it known, and your staff can reflect a less gap than the gap that is, you know, the 21%. And because it was very disheartening for me, and I think I shared that with you when we met, that we have civil servants, employees of the state of California, and the gap is even worse than the regular gap in the private sector. So I would just ask you to please be ever vigilant on that. And it's amazing that we're in 2015 and women are still trying to earn the same as men. So if you need any help, I'm sure that all the ladies on the panel will be willing to help you out with that. Also, we talked a little bit about negotiations and collective bargaining. I think you said when you took over, there were 3 expired contracts and 1 that was about to expire.
One that actually had financial reopeners in it, and the union had exercised that reopener.
Okay, very good.
For financial terms only.
And I think you also said that you had one group of workers who thought about going on strike.
That's true. That was the situation we inherited when I arrived at CalHR in late February of last year, early March, I guess. And we remained committed to bargaining in good faith. We ultimately reached agreement on all 4 of those contracts and submitted the requisite statutory language to the legislature in time for it to be incorporated as part of what I believe was called Budget Bill Junior late summer. And so we're happy that we were able to close those contracts, to reach agreements, and ultimately they were ratified by the legislature.
And what was the issue that would have caused the workers to go out on strike?
For that union, it was primarily salary.
Okay. So there are usually 3 primary issues, if I may. It's usually salary, wages, or medical benefits, or pension. And I would just also ask you to be cognizant that if a group of workers is ever contemplating going out on strike, they really feel that they're backed up against the wall, because no one wants to go on strike. I've not ever met any worker who wants to give up their paycheck in order to get what they think they deserve. So I would just ask you to always realize that workers go on strike when they feel like they have no other option. And I also would agree with Senator Mitchell when she said this is a big job with a lot of issues, and we appreciate your willingness to take it on.
Thank you.
The last part was there a question there, Ms. Leyva, or just a commentary? No? Okay. I was going to ask. I was going to ask, was there a question there or a commentary that you wanted? No, we're good. Mr. Okay, no, just okay. Okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure there was a question embedded there somewhere in that commentary. Okay, right. Okay, Madam Vice Chair.
I just have one question. We had a good discussion and I feel pretty comfortable, but California is a diverse state that the regional workforce needs are very diverse. And I'd like to know how Cal HR is working to recruit employees for areas that have double-digit unemployment, such as the Central Valley, the High Desert, and other inland areas.
Certainly, and thank you for that question. So it happens on two fronts from our perspective. One, the departments that have jobs in those areas do their own recruiting in those regions. And so we talked to several of the departments, and I can provide more specific information, but departments like corrections and DMV and EDD, they all do various forms of outreach in the local communities where they need jobs, using media, buying ads in local newspapers and things for hard-to-fill positions. So that's on the advertising, the job front and the outreach. But then there's, in state civil service, there's also this notion of competitive examination. And so our selections unit within CalHR has continued a broad push out into the far reaches of the state. Since July 1 of this year, within this fiscal year, we've delivered, we've tested over 5,000 job applicants, covering 23, I think, locations that we sort of quantified or characterized as being inland regions, in 20 different job examination categories. So we continue to have an active and broad outreach into the rural communities as the jobs are needed. And then beyond that, we have 100, almost 200 online job examinations that are available, continuous filing 24 hours a day on the internet that folks also can access. So between our work in the field and going out to the communities and the course, the exams we have available online 24/7, we feel like we're at least have a good start at reaching out. There's certainly more work to do, and we're open to any ideas. If any area has ideas about how we can reach a broader population and a candidate pool in a particular region, we'd absolutely love to hear it.
Thank you.